Adam left the office feeling giddy. He walked towards the hangar as he read the contract for what must have been the 100th time. He had done it. He had bought a whole solar system, costing him 25 million credits, but now he officially owned GKB 12,658. It had a yellow sun, 3 planets, and 2 gas planets with 2 asteroid fields. The planets were just barren rocks, only one was within the habitable zone, and the atmosphere was weak. It was 1.003x the size of Earth, with 2 moons and a ring formation. The moons were half the size of Earth's moon, and locked in an eternal dance with each other. It was a beautiful sight to behold, but he did worry if they would collide at one point. But it was 20 light-years from the nearest populated system, almost like buying a farm in the middle of nowhere. The nearest hyperplane was 6 light-years away, and it currently had no stops there. Adam grinned. Currently was the key word. He had spent half his winnings on the planet. He remembered how shocked he had been when he won the Earth's golden ticket. He had spent 5 credits and won 50 million credits. He hadn't told anybody. There was nobody to tell, to be honest. Being raised in an orphanage with very few friends, those he had as a kid had left Earth a long time ago. With his winnings, he knew he could spend money, live a good life, buy a house, and enjoy life. But he wanted something more. He wanted to be something more. He had spent 1 million on an old space hauler and learned how to fly it. He had bought 5 droids for protection, 10 worker droids, and 2 factory version 3D printing robots, leaving him with 22 million credits. He had a plan, and it was going to work. He had read about it when he was young, about people who made deserts bloom. He always wanted to do that, but now he could do it on a grander scale, not just grand planetary scale. He had the idea when he saw the article about that family that dumped organic waste in the desert and let nature do its thing. It was a way to fight desertification. He wanted to do that to a whole planet. He just needed to find a planet with a desert planet atmosphere, like the one they always show in the movies. That had turned out to be more difficult than he thought. Most desert planets have no atmosphere or are too cold or hot. He finally found one on the other side of the galaxy, far from everybody. It would have been colonized long ago if it had been closer to the hyperplane. He reached the hangar and looked for the job board. Yep, there it was. The most annoying and boring job in the universe. Trash disposal. People thought space stations just recycled everything, but that was not true. With a constant influx of goods, there was no need to recycle, dump it in a crate, ship it near the sun, and waste problem solved. The problem was getting the waste from the station within the sun's gravity pull, and that's where he came in. He took the job and the next and the next. He filled his hauler up with all the trash he could. It was now his trash. He could keep it or dump it, just not in open space. Ships didn't like getting hit by a meteorite made out of other people's waste. He had earned a few credits, too. It took him 1 week to reach his system. When he entered, it came up as owned by Adam Wrangler. He loved it and stared at the screen as the ship flew to the second planet, the most Earth-like one. He looked at it. It was just a desert with 2 large white poles. He ran the scans and there were traces of nitrogen and carbon. The atmosphere was very weak, with almost no ozone layer. He flew down to the equator where a vast valley was, and dumped everything there. He looked over the scans and found a place to land. It was a plateau high enough not to end up underwater even if both poles melted, but still not too high. He got into the suit and went to the secondary cargo hold where his droids and 3D printers were placed and unloaded. He went over the geographic scans and the programs. There was a base blueprint he had bought. It had cost him 2,500 credits, a research base that looked like a 40-meter tall cylinder with a 50-meter diameter and a small observation tower at the top. He had played with the design and added 3 football field-sized domes and a landing hangar. Those had only cost him 500 credits each. It would take the droids months to finish it. But they would work constantly until it was finished. He might have to buy a few more. 10 more would speed it up. He left 4 of the bodyguard droids to protect it, and then he flew off. He set the course for the Galactic Hub, or Hub, as it was called, the biggest commercial space station in the sector. When he docked, he headed straight to the job board to find the waste disposal jobs. He leaves a few for us. That's easy money. Just 30 minutes for a few hundred credits. He turned towards the voice. The man was slightly taller and looked like a shaved dog with a pink mohawk. He was wearing what appeared to be blue jeans and a red t-shirt. He had a bandolier that ended in a pistol. He thought the species was Tufons. "How many do you want me to leave? I want the organics anyway," Adam replied as he stepped away from the screen. He had managed to get 20 jobs, and his hauler would soon be full. Only organics? Why? The alien reviewed the jobs and took 4 mostly metal products. "Science project, what about you? You seem to go for the metal." Adam watched the alien curious. He had only met a few, though he had seen many. "You don't know. You melt it down and resell it. It takes a lot of energy, though, so most stations don't bother with it, and the crime lords don't care about the small changes. So what kind of science project?" The dogman looked at him now, tilting his head slightly. "Well, just checking if it can turn into manure, trying to make a farm." It was a little lie, but he didn't feel like revealing his real plan. "Well, then you should go to the farms and restaurants. It takes longer, but you will get organics and no metals then. Name's Rox." The alien offered a clawed hand to shake, and he took it. It was a firm grip. "Adam Wrangler, nice to meet you. I was hoping to get in and out. How much more time are we talking about?" "Well, if it's just for one time, then we are talking a few days, but if it's a regular job, then you can set it up, hire somebody to bring it down here to the waste storage, and then you don't even have to check the job board. It will truly be in and out." Adam looked at Rox as he thought about it. He had to do some calculations, but yeah, it might actually work. He needed a lot of waste. He was, after all, planning to cover the whole planet in it. And he didn't have time to work on the atmosphere either. "I have to think about it. Right now, I have to fill this one up and head out. Nice meeting you, Rox." He added a few more jobs to fill up the ship and headed out. He had enough money to hire a few. He needed one more ship and at least one more pilot. He stopped and looked at Rox. "Do you work for somebody?" "No, self-employed. Why are you hiring?" He had stopped as he asked him halfway out the door. "Maybe my project needs a lot of organic waste, so I might need to hire a pilot with a ship to do the job, but it's a week's travel between here and the dumping place each way." "You better just buy a slave for that. No cargo hauler would do that for trash. A slave working for freedom will. Of course, they might steal the hauler and escape, but that's the risk you run with even a licensed pilot. Maybe a clone droid. Yeah, that could work." "A clone droid? What the hell is that?" Adam asked, confused. He hadn't heard about those. Rox shrugged as he replied. "Ethical clones, they call them. Clones with a cybernetic brain. Basically, they will pass as alive, and they can access the common areas. It's an android brain inside a cloned body. So you won't have any ethical problems about using them for labor, unlike slaves. Some people like me don't agree with that practice." "Are you serious? They clone somebody and remove their brains to put in an android brain? That's like killing somebody to make a flesh android." Adam was disgusted by the thought. Rox looked at him for a while. "You're human, right? They said your people were different. But yeah, you're right. Hell, if you want to do the right thing, you buy a slave, set up a contract for servitude to freedom, and set aside some money for when they get freed. Then you roll the dice of fate and hope you bought an honest one. That's my goal, though. The damn law forbids you from freeing a slave you just bought." Rox seemed a little frustrated as he said the last words. "Wait, you're trying to buy somebody to free them?" "Who?" Adam was curious now. This was an aspect of galactic culture he had not learned at school, the little he had. "My sister and her husband were on the wrong side of my world's civil war and were sold off as slaves. I have them on hold for 3 weeks, 30 grand for her and 55 for him. He's a biologist and she is a nurse." "Biologist? How much are you missing?" "I got 22500 saved up now. I might get 1,000 more with these jobs, and the sale might give me another. I fear I can only get her out. She is going to hate me. Luckily, he is so specialized that I might have another week before he's snatched up." "I'll buy them. I could use a biologist, and she can work as his aide for what, a year? You sure? I mean, I don't even know you. And it has to be a minimum of 5 standard years." "Yeah, but with one condition. You work for me too, paid of course for 6 months. Yeah, that should do it. You seem to know your way around the business of hauling, and I need the help. What do you say? I say I want to see the contract and credit check first. Adam smirked as he pressed his tab, and his spending credit was shown. He only had 2.1 million credits on it, and Rox whistled as he saw it. Why are you hauling? You're rich enough to retire with that. I have a bigger dream. Come, let's find a lawyer and set up a contract. He started walking, and Rox followed him. You know a lawyer will cost credits, right? Yeah, but I'll be honest with you. We just met, and this will be for my security as well as yours. If you screw me over, I can sue you, and if I screw you over, you can sue me, and it will protect us from outside interference as well. Companies get more protection. It took them 5 hours, but Adam was the CEO and owner of Wrangler Company HQ at the newly named Dirt System. Rox was his employee for 1 year and paid 50% of the income from each haul. They also set up a standard contract for slaves, 5 years of work for freedom and a $50,000 reward when they'd served their time. An hour later, they all sat in a cafeteria. Rox, his sister Hara, and her husband Vorts just looked at him while Adam was trying out the food. Are you sure this is edible? He looked at the plate. It looked like a T-bone steak, but the color was not correct. The meat was green, the bone was purple, and the potatoes were green. Yes, it's quite safe. The scan you did when you arrived at the restaurant showed everything that would be poisonous on your menu, he replied, but he seemed still in shock. Adam looked up. What? Is it so strange to see a human eating? No, it's that you just gave us a chance of freedom. And that contract you had us sign with a lawyer as a witness. I mean, what do you want from us? Vorts replied to him as he held his wife's hand. Look, I guess I have to explain it. I bought a solar system and it has one planet with an atmosphere, a weak one, so I need it thicker so it can become breathable. It's within the habitable zone, but not enough gases to make it breathable or give it a stable atmosphere. Fortunately, both poles have a large ice cap, mainly water. Now, it's so far away from another system that I got it cheap. So we are going to terraform it unusually. I can't afford the big terraform machines, so the plan is to collect as much bio-waste as possible, spread it out and melt the caps to release water vapor. He spoke as he ate. The food was surprisingly good and he sipped the water. Single-handedly terraform? You must be crazy. But for the sake of argument, does the planet have a strong enough gravity pull to keep the atmosphere? Vorts was a little more interested now. Yes, it is about the same size as my homeworld. That's why I picked it. Look, it has potential. The system might have metal I can sell. The goal is first to terraform the planet and then make a profit from it. He leaned back and looked at them. Look, I can't do it alone. Few humans are this far out from Earth. Earth is on the other side of the galaxy. If not for the hyperplane, then I would never have been able to travel here. It takes a whole year in hyperspace to get here from Earth. Are you running away from your kind? Hera seemed a little worried, and Adam laughed. No, I'm not running away. It's a human thing. I wanted to go somewhere far away and start over. I have no family, so I had nothing to hold me back. Right now, you're all I have. They all looked at each other and back at him. You're adopting us? Rox looked confused, and Adam tapped his implant. It must have translated it wrong. Adopt? Make us part of your family? Become our clan leader? Rox tilts his head slightly and Adam chuckles. Wow, let's take it easy. Let's first find out if you guys even like me. I don't know how it works out here. Right now we work together, right? Adam looked at them, hoping he didn't disappoint or offend them. They looked at each other with a strange look. So he continued. Look, I'm human. I don't mean to offend or cause trouble. I might have said something offensive. If I did, please accept my apologies. No need to apologize. You own us. We cannot hope for such honor anyway. We will work hard and may be worthy one day. Vorts bowed his head and Adam smiled. Hey, just cut that master-owning stuff. You're employees with a 5-year contract. Now we need to buy a shelter for you guys as you will be working planet-side, and some clothes as well. Okay, time to go shopping. Chapter 2. Why don't you hire a lawyer to find the jobs for you? Perhaps somebody less expensive? Rox asked him as his sister and her husband were shopping for clothes and necessities. Adam gave them 1,000 credits. It should be enough to get them cheap clothes. He and Rock sat in what he would describe as an alien fast food restaurant. Expensive, what do you mean? Adam looked at him, confused. It had paid 10,000 credits for the whole thing, and for it he had a company and official documents as well as new bank accounts set up. You don't know, do you? Shit. Rox looked around and leaned towards him, almost whispering as You are so damn lucky you helped me. Look, I don't know what system or currency you're used to, but let me lay it out for you so you don't get us both killed by some muggers. 1 credit is worth 1,000 bits. 1 bit is divided into 10 bytes. You can buy a meal here for 10 bytes. Then he took a bite of the snack he had bought. It looked like a meat cracker, and he leaned back as he spoke normally. Now, the other thing you need to understand is that I am not your kin. We have a very different culture. You bought my sister. In my culture, I only have 2 solutions for it. Hunt you down and kill you so I can free her or take her place if I find you too powerful to kill. My culture doesn't allow female slaves to people outside our culture. And then you bound me in a contract, making it so you were my leader. This means I'm supposed to let you have her, even kill her husband if you wanted her. But with your contract, you prevented that from ever happening. It's like you are playing my culture against me and making me win. It's damn confusing. I don't know if I'm supposed to swear loyalty or what here. You're a damn peacemaker. He chuckled as he spoke. Adam looked at Rox as he ranted. He liked the guy. He was honest to a fault and carried himself like a soldier, a very confused soldier, as he replied. Peacemaker, eh? Then he looked at his wrist where he had his watch. It contained access to his wealth, and he suddenly realized he was not carrying a few million. What the hell had he won? His mind started to race. Was he truly a complete idiot? 55 million credits times 1,000, that would be 55,000 million. But that was bits, and it was not like cents as he had believed. No bits were the dollar, shit. No, bytes were the Earth credits, and that was 10 more. Oh my God. When they said he was rich, they were lying. He was filthy rich. He had thought it was 1-to-1, but he had been a complete fool. Why did they call it credits? They should have called it Earth credit and galaxy credits. His mind was racing. You wait. 100, I mean, wow. So, wait. Okay. Sorry, I got a little confused here. You're not going to kill me, right? Rox grinned at him. No, I'm not. I have a feeling you're going to have a lot of those brain breaks out here. You seem to have no idea about the culture here. Hell, how do you know the lawyers are not going to screw you over? Oh, that is easy. I took intergalactic law in college. My original plan was to join the Marines and have the military pay for my law school in a colony. They let me join, and I stood guard at a gate for 3 years. However, I have 2 years of basic law and 1 year of Galactic Federation contracts. I am lucky my last year and got some money, so I didn't re-enlist. I can always go back if this fails. Anyway, that's why I decided to pick that lawyer. He had the credentials. Member of the Galactic Law Federation. He came up on the official station listing. He got out his pad and checked it, and suddenly, it all made sense. The Galactic Lottery. He thought it was just a lottery for human colonies. It was a galactic-wide lottery. He searched for his winnings and found that he had split it with 257 others, one of the lowest splits in the last 100 draws. He looked back at Rox. So I am good with you, right? No killing? What about Vorts? Will he try to kill me? No, you wrote in the contract that he was married to Hara. So they are now more legally married than they were at their wedding back home. Now their marriage is documented in the galactic census. Like I said, it's like you played our culture against us to protect your own skin. You're good at writing contracts. Just out of curiosity, if I had not signed the contract, what would have happened? We would have killed you and taken your hauler. Rock said it so casually, as if it was the most normal thing that would have happened. You don't have any protection with you, no weapons. We are on a space station, the most civilized place in the sector. You would have been caught immediately. We would have done it on your ship. I have protection there. Adam winked, and Rox looked at him as if trying to figure him out. What are you? He finally said. I'm a human. I just want to avoid any trouble while I fulfill my dream. Adam smiled as he saw the two others approach, each carrying 2 bags and a backpack. Did you buy the whole mall? Rock stood up, shaking his head as he walked over to his sister. She grinned. No, we just bought clothes and basics for a year. He said we would be staying on his planet, so we needed a lot of stuff. She looked between Rox and her husband before looking at Adam. Right? Adam nodded. Yes, head to the hangar, Bay F-46. I will call ahead. D-01 will aid you. Rox and I need to take care of a few things. Adam looked at Rox. If you don't mind. Rox shook his head and the couple grinned happily. After they left, Adam turned to Rox. I'm going to need help from you. We are going droid shopping and I need your knowledge of alien culture. As you said, I accidentally dodged a bullet with you guys and I want to be more prepared. Like knowing if I hire the wrong guy, will I risk getting killed for breaking a taboo I didn't know about? Rox chuckles. You just had a wake-up call, didn't you? Okay, I will help you since I like you. You sound crazy, but you saved my sister, and if she fulfills your contract, she will be well off and legally off the galactic slave census. So first off, don't buy my kind as slaves unless you are going to put them under armed guard. If you're going to buy slaves to free them, I recommend Dushians, Wusirs, and Buginos. Their culture is more honored with such contracts with their lives. Even if they are not very religious, the cultural shame will make them at least be faithful for the duration of the contract. Stay away from my kind and Harans. They will kill you no matter what, or at least try to. We are mostly used as fighters. We are very bad slaves. I wish I had known that before. What about second-hand goods? I have been buying brand new since I don't know how the market works out here. Back home, I would have gone to FineNet and checked for second-hand. He glanced around and saw a pretty lady walking the by. She looked like a humanoid. Her skin was blue with red tiger stripes and long, loose jet-black hair with some braids incorporated. She was dressed in a knee-long green slit skirt and a white blouse. She noticed he stared, winked with emerald green eyes, and grinned with ivory white sheets and 4 sharp fangs. Rox noticed and laughed. You truly are suicidal. That's a Haran. She would eat you for dinner. The woman vanished past them into the crowd. She was beautiful and had an aura of danger. No harm in looking. Adam grinned back and Rox smirked. It is she if likes what she sees, then she would mark you. The Haran are crazy. Anyway, I don't know what FineNet is, but here we have the market hub. We should go there. Just a friendly advice. Never buy over the net. That's how they scam you. Only buy on the net on planets with strict online laws. Off-planet, you always go to the market hub so you can see the wares and check them. You should also look for the hub credentials at the shop to ensure you get the real deal. Adam nodded, looked after the lady, and then back to Rox. Okay, let's go. We need more droids and an engineer, but I need somebody I can trust. Rox laughed. Trust? In space? You only trust family and clan. They headed to the market hub, and on the way he told D-01 about the couple and had them store their stuff. The android responded affirmatively. They were halfway down when Rox got a message from his sister. He read it and turned to Adam. You have a destroyer droid as a guardian? That's military-grade shit. What, D-01? Yeah, I got a few of them. I bought them off the company. One of my few friends helped me. He worked for the company. Why? You wait, destroyer droids are made by Ares Company. He works for them. Yeah, half my country does. The HQ is on Earth. Adam didn't understand why it was a big deal. It was just the top-of-the-line bodyguard droid. Harold was one of the few friends, well, kind of friend he had. Fuck, he had lied to him when he said it was the standard. Probably got himself a nice bonus for that sale. He smirked. He would have done the same thing. Harold probably thought he scammed him and instead rescued his ass. They had grown up in the same orphanages. He was more of a former roommate. Rox nodded and quickly returned a message to his sister. It's safe, right? Yeah, he was told to take care of them and make them settle in. He replied as they stepped out of the lift and entered the market hub. It was not what he had suspected. It was a large open area filled with booths, but it looked clean and tidy. By the entrance, there was an interactive map. Adam looked around at all the aliens. It took him a few seconds to get over the awe of the inhabitants. What? Still not used to all the different species? Rox smirked as he navigated the map. Yes, actually, back home there were a few, but for some reason other species tend to avoid Earth. I think we got a bad reputation. Reputation? Yeah, you can say that. Humans are said to be made of chaos, tempered by war and violence. Made for war, so you waged war against war. That's what I hear, and apparently your world is filled with dangerous animals. But I never met one, and around here nothing is more feared than the Haran and my kind. We are kind of the top dogs around. So, I should fear you? Adam smirked. Yeah, hell, to make it easier, let's just say I'm your bodyguard. That way we are less likely to get scammed, okay? How much would that cost me? Bottle of whiskey? I have no idea what that is, but sure. Let's go. I found the droid sale, booth 34, a Duskin seller. Rox started to walk away and Adam followed. It took him a while to regain composure and not stare at the goods like a kid in a candy store. He had expected aliens to be strange, but here things were just bizarre. Rox chuckled as he noticed. I can see you have just been at the upper levels where the tourists go. That is for the roasters. They are a half-gelatin species. Half the things they sell there are unknown to most people here. Here we are. They entered a booth with several display screens and 3 droids on display. The salesman looked like a green-skinned bald dwarf with several tiny horns that formed a crown. His eyes were bright blue and he had a short bluish beard. He wore a bluish one-piece tracksuit with a sleeveless collar and a black vest. He had a pad in his hand. When he saw Adam, his eyes lit up and his mouth opened in a grin, showing off small fangs. Welcome, human! Both Adam and Rox looked at him surprised. Hello, nice to meet you too. Adam looked surprised at Rox. I thought humans were rare here. You are. The gods have blessed me with the sight of a real one. You are a human, right? The Duskin moved closer, took out a glass and scanned him. Adam was dumbfounded as he looked at him. It was something nagging him, something he should know. Something from school, something he had learned about them. Duskin, what was so special about them? They were one of Earth's allies from that old Butcher War. That was 150 years ago, so it can't be that. Yes, I'm human. I just arrived and I need a few droids for a project. Construction droids, Adam replied as he tried to get back to business. So, human, you work with him? Damn, they say your Tufons are loyal. You know what they say about them? The salesman looked at Rox, who was getting more confused. Your best friend or your worst enemy, children of chaos. Then he turned to Adam. My name is Soshu Curl, but call me Soshu, and yes, I have droids. How many do you need? 1, 2, 10? Depends on the quality. Did you get the Calvis brand? Rox's eyes widened as he mentioned the brand, and the salesman laughed and looked at Rox. Calvis brand? I got the X1, 2 of them, but they are expensive. Soshu's eyes gleamed with prospect of selling his more expensive goods. How much? 1,500 credits per droid, only used to stand guard in an office building. Over a nervous owner, had the highest security and died from an attack. Family is selling off the redundant. I'll give you 2,500 for both. What? Soshu looked around for something to attack him with, and Rox stepped between them. Easy. I don't think he knows the rules. It's his first time in the hub. Rox had one open hand towards the salesman and the other hovering over his pistol. Then, without taking his eyes off the now furious Duskin, he spoke to Adam. Apologies to him. You can't do that here. The price is always finally in the hub, and especially with the Duskins. Adam looked between them. I'm sorry. I misunderstood the whole thing. Back home, this would just be the start of a haggling session. My apologies. Of course, I will pay full price. Please accept my ignorance. He looked Soshu in his eyes while holding both hands up disarmingly. It seemed to work as he calmed down. So you buy both? 3,000? He stared at him, still a little wary. Yes, I will, of course, want to see them and your other goods. He tried to sound as friendly as he could, and Rox sighed. He doesn't know. He probably means something else than what you think. Rox quickly interjected as he was still between them. Soshu closes his fist and grits his teeth. What? Adam was getting confused and Rox looked at him. You're insulting his honor. He would never dream of selling something that's not in excellent condition. That's why I chose this shop. Adam facepalmed at his own ignorance. Again, I'm so sorry. Okay, let me see your catalog. And I will pick the ones I want unless you want me to leave. So Shu looked at him, confused now. Leave? I want your respect and your money. How can I get that if you leave? He looked at Rooks. You need to train him, get him a travel guide or 10, perhaps some history of the species. He is going to get you killed if you don't. I'm starting to think so too. He tried to flirt with the Haran earlier, Rox said as he shook his head in disbelief at the memory. Soshu laughed as he handed Adam a pad, apparently calming down from his insults. A Haran. He does have a death wish. Was it a warrior? He got on another pad and looked at what Adam was ordering, then back at Rox with a, Is this guy real? Look. Nah, she looked like a businesswoman. If it were a warrior, he would probably be at dinner about now. Then he noticed the look and smirked. He is opening a company, so yeah, he is probably going to empty out your storage. Adam handed back the pad. I guess that should be enough for now. If you don't mind, I will drop by in a few months and check if you have anything else I need. You actually had something I was planning to buy later, so you saved me one trip. I can store it in the warehouse. You are aware that the list will end at 245,000 credits, and you bought 2 different maintenance droids for 2 different ships. They are not comparative. Soshu looked at him, calculating. Adam nodded. Yes, for a Fairview ZE-12 hauler and a Ganusu 2000 hauler. I need both. Rox looked at Adam and then back to Soshu, acting normal. Adam just smiled. Of course, if you do not want to sell them to me. Shut up, human, Soshu grumbled as he took out the tab for him to pay. You're going to give me a heart attack. Rox was ready to jump between them at the new insult, but relaxed as Adam paid with a smile. Nice doing business with you? Soshu stared at him. Not so much for me. You come here, insult me in my honor, then buy my whole inventory. You're a menace, goddamn child of chaos. Don't come back unless you want to buy stuff. Now where do you want me to deliver it, and when? I'm sorry you feel that way, Hangar Bay F-46, and as soon as possible. It will be done within 2 hours. Now get lost. You are stressing me out. There was a smile hidden behind the insult, and Adam smirked and walked away. Rox followed, slightly confused. You bought me a maintenance droid? He whispered as they were out of the booth. Why? I bought it for me. He handed him his own pad with the list of droids. He had 3 mining droids. The system has an asteroid field, and the Nusu 2000 is the cheapest, reliable hauler. I'm going to buy one and install the mining system on it. The maintenance droid is for that one. Of course, my employees, like you, are free to use it when they are in the system. We need to buy more blueprints for my 3D printers. It's an investment. Wait, why buy a new one when I got one? You can buy it from me. I only bought it to earn money to buy my sister and brother-in-law. It was so had a line of work I could claim they would work in. Roque stopped him as he replied, looking at him. Well, what are you going to do then? If I buy it and put the system in, it won't even need a pilot. It's just a giant drone. Adam looked at him a little confused. Your ship. You need me to help navigate society, remember? I'm a better bodyguard anyway. You could have gotten yourself in serious trouble back there. You can buy another ship when you learn the ropes, and I fly that. That way, if your project fails, you will still have a small mining operation. Rox spoke fast, and Adam thought about it. It made sense. He definitely needed a partner who knew about the different cultures here. Besides, Rox seemed to be honest. Okay. He looked for an information screen, and Rox looked at him, confused. Okay? What do you mean? I mean, okay. That makes sense. Now, Soshu said something about travel guides, and we still need to find an engineer. Adam smiled slightly at his confused friend. Yeah, Rox might be a friend. Perhaps his first ever. Chapter 3. So let's go down and get another slave then, Rox replied as they walked, stopped, and checked a screen. But first books, right? He looked at Adam. Yes, books first, and why buy a slave? I bought your sister to help you so you would help me. I'm actually against slavery. It's illegal where I'm from for a damn good reason. That's why I wrote the contract as I did. They are as free as I could make them." He ignored the screen and looked at Rox, who looked very confused now. "Slavery illegal? What do you do with criminals, captured enemy combatants, and people who can't pay their debts?" He had forgotten all about the books and engineers they needed. "We put them in prison." "You don't have prisons? And there are other ways. Besides, we normally hire people who want to be hired." Adam looked at him as if Rox made no sense, and Rox laughed. "Wow, you Earthlings. Okay, we can hire somebody straight from school, but we might have to wait a while. We can talk about human ways later. Man, prison for every criminal? That's barbaric. Remind me never to go to a human world." He turned back to the screen and found the shop. Adam wondered if something had been lost in translation. The prison wasn't that bad. It couldn't be worse than slavery. He followed Rox to the shop, and as they were about to enter, Rox stopped him. "I'll do the talking, okay? Next time we return, you can buy the books. I don't want another situation like with Soshu. You okay with that?" He was quite serious, but when Adam nodded in agreement, he smirked and went inside. Adam turned his attention to his pad and asked to talk to Vorts. "Yes, sir. What can I help you with?" Vorts sounded a little worried and looked at the screen. "I just wanted you to review the delivered goods and let me know if we need anything. I will grant you access to the library computer. There are some files there. Besides the fertile Earth, the first goal is to gain a functional atmosphere, so anything that can help there would be good." "Yes, sir. I don't think your droid will allow me to look at those files into your quarters." He looked off-screen again to the same point, and it clicked for Adam. "DO1, they are allowed into the general quarters and access to open files. You do not need to follow them around," Adam said with a slight smirk. He forgot droids take everything literally. He heard an affirmative on the screen and the sound of metal boots leaving. Vorts seemed to calm down. "Thank you, sir. I will get right to it. What should I do if I notice something we need?" "Make a list and send it to me. The ship should have 163 cubic meters left." He checked the ship's status on the pad. "And I want it filled up before we leave." "Do you want me to fill the cargo hold with organics? I don't think we should mix the organic trash with your goods. And you have 13 cubic meters left in the cargo hold 1. Do you want to fill that up with organics? That will leave cargo hold 2, 3, and 4 free for other goods, or you can fill more of them up. Fill up cargo hold 1 and let me know how much is left after the goods are delivered. Can you also check out the files on Project Dirt? We're going to be busy here. We have to find and hire an engineer as well." "Engineer? There was one in the pen. He was a Bugino with a baby boy," Vorts replied. "I doubt people would buy him, so he will probably still be there." "Why, because of the baby boy?" Adam felt his stomach knotted at the description. A baby was held as a slave. The Buginos are mostly peaceful and loyal, very loyal to their family. Somebody killed the mother, so he went on a rampage and killed the fools with his bare hands. He will probably kill anybody who tries to separate him from his child, and nobody wants a baby that needs extra care. They are probably trying to find ways to separate them. He could hear Vorts starting up the library computer as he spoke. "Pretty sad, too. The baby is quite cute," Hera commented from the side, and Adam smirked. He had an idea, probably a bad idea, but this might work. "What's his name?" "Jork Wirt. He's a level 5 engineer, so he's expensive, but you have to take his baby, too." Hera had taken over the speaking now. She seemed a little eager now. "Well, babies need medical supervision. I'm just glad I already got a nurse. Make a list of what we need for that as well. I got to go now. I see Rox coming." He hung up as he came over to him. "So what now? Oh, you owe me 850 bits?" He handed him a small bag filled with memory crystals, and Adam smirked as he accepted them. "You know you're right. Let's just do it easily and get an engineer from the slave pen. But first, we need to drop by the lawyer again. I need a new contract." He started to walk, but Rox looked confused at him. "I thought you didn't like slaves." "I have nothing against slaves. I have something against slavery. I spoke with your sister, and she told me of somebody who needs our help and might be able to help us as well." Adam walked faster. Starting to feel a need to fix this, they quickly got to the law office and were greeted by the avian-looking secretary. "Back already. Mr. Harry Roro will be quite pleased. I will let him know you are here." She almost sang the words, and they sat down. Rox looked quite uncomfortable where he was sitting. Adam felt more relaxed here. The room was light with an artificial air freshener that smelled of fruit. An android came over with refreshments, and after a minute, the door to the lawyer gilded open and they were invited in. Adam smiled at the lawyer, gave him a small nod, and then stopped a little confused. Next to him sat a lady he had seen earlier. Rox showed his teeth for a second before realizing where he was and controlling himself. Next to Mr. Harry Roro sat the Heron lady they had seen earlier the day. She glared at Rox but did not say anything. Adam looked between them and back at Mr. Harry Roro. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were with a client. I feel embarrassed now. We can leave and return later." The old avian man laughed. No. This is Mrs. Minna, my colleague and partner. Of course, if your friend is uncomfortable, I can ask her to leave." Adam looked at Rox, who controlled himself. "Of course not. I'm sorry for my outburst. I was just surprised. I should have expected a Haran in the law business." Rox replied, a little ashamed, and Mrs. Minna slowly nodded quite felinely. "Apologize accepted," she replied as she ignored him and turned her attention back to Adam. "I was impressed by the raw contract you set up. You must have some law practice?" "Thank you, and you are correct. I need another contract for a slave with a child. I want the child to be registered as a free person if possible. Only the father should be in my service for the minimum needed time. The rest should be like we discussed earlier. This person will take on the position of engineer in my company." They all seemed to study him as he spoke, but he ignored it and focused on what he was setting up as he took out his pad, loaded up the contract, and handed it over. Mrs. Minna took the pad as she studied him, then she turned to Rox. "Is he real?" Mr. Harry Roro laughs delightfully as he gets up, walks over to a screen and activates it, going through the search history and finding the slave market, and turns to Adam. "You have a name for this engineer?" Rox nods to her and then shakes his head while muttering, "Humans, children of chaos, and apparently peacemakers." "York Wirt, I was told he was a level 5 engineer. It's the same firm as the last one." He walked over to the screen, and there, the man came up. "Is that a Buginos?" The man in the picture was about 2 meters tall, a muscular man with yellow skin and gray dots going down his arms. He had 4 blue eyes and large floppy ears and was almost entirely bald with 2 green knotted braids hanging down his back. In his arm was a small version of him. It was a small bundle that nearly fitted completely in his arms. The man was an engineer, as he had been told. He had a sentence of 150 years for killing 15 members of a street gang as vengeance, and he had been given 20 years extra for taking the law into his own hands. Harry Roro looked at the intel and back to Adam. "You can never release him, but you can free the child immediately." Adam nodded. "That's his only crime as well. I think he will appreciate a second chance." Mrs. Minna got up and handed him the contract. "Let me know if you need a wife. I can get one cheap." Adam looked at her as his jaw dropped. "Wife? For whom? I'm not going to force somebody to marry him." Rox laughed at his reaction. "For you, she is asking if you want a wife." "Me?" Adam got blustered. "No, I don't need one. But thank you for the offer. I think we will be going now. I will transfer the money now." He hurried out the door, then stopped, bowed, and said his goodbye before getting out of there as he paid for their services. Mrs. Minna looked confused after him as Rox laughingly followed after Adam. "You impressed her. I've never seen a Haran offering up one of their own before. You were smart to say no. She was probably looking forward to eating you." Rox could hardly contain his laughter as they headed to the slave market. Adam just tried to forget the whole incident, and after 30 minutes he stood outside the market with his now 3rd slave. He felt sick to his stomach at the thought and didn't notice the look from York. Adam felt like a creep as he walked towards the ship. He could hear Rox and York speaking behind him, and he shut it out. This was not what he wanted to use his money on. If he could buy his freedom and set him free, he would accept it. But now he was burdened with being a slave owner for the rest of York's life, maybe even his own. He could not even kill himself. If he died, York would automatically become a slave to the government again. His plan had backfired, and he didn't like it. They got to the ships, and he walked inside, telling D-01 who the new crewmates were and their roles. Then he said he needed to retire for the night. He apologized to Rox and the other. He avoided looking at York as he could not look him in his eyes. He simply turned and went to his room. Adam woke up from that nightmare he had not had for a few years. He hit the wall and screamed in frustration. This was not going to be fun. This place would remind him of that nightmare. He sat up, went to shower, and then dressed. He looked at the cabin door and took a deep breath. He needed to talk to York and make him understand. When he left his room, he heard laughter and singing. He smelled food also. He slowly walked to the sound, expecting it to stop as he stepped inside, and it did. "I hope my singing didn't disturb you, Master," York said with a smile as he held a frying pan with what looked like a purple pancake being cocked. "Don't call me Master. I'm not your master. I simply gave you a second chance. You're not a slave in my eyes. Understand that. I'm not your master." "If you say so, but you did save me and my son. Little Miker will have a chance to grow up because of you, so you might see yourself as my master, but you are my master, and his second father." York's voice was still filled with joy and defiance at not being allowed to call him master. Adam looked at him and the little bundle in Hera's arms. She looked at him, then back at the bay, and smiled. Fort smirked as he chewed on one of the purple pancakes. "Second father?" Adam looked surprised and sat down, rubbing his temple. "I can't deal with this now. Did you make the list of what we need?" He turned to Vorts, who nodded and handed him the pad. "I looked at the planetary scans. The dumping of organic is not going to work. The atmosphere is too thin, and the heat evaporates too quickly. The night temperatures reach -40 degrees while the day temperatures can reach boiling points. You need to focus on the atmosphere first, so you need to melt at least 30% of both poles. That will give you water vapors, but there are other gases you need as well. You should dump the organics in one of those domes in your building. That way you can make some dirt, and once you fix the atmosphere, you can return to your waste project." Vort seemed to understand that Adam needed to focus on something other than the current situation, and he explained as simply as he could what needed to be done. Adam looked at the list. "What's a sun generator, and why do we need 5 of them?" "They are ice melters. Miners use them to melt away the ice to access minerals in asteroids. You need 2 for each pole. The last is spare parts." Yorks replied, as he put a plate in front of him. "They are effective, but there is always a chance they break down." Adam looked at him, and the plate grabbed a pancake. He chewed on it as he looked over the list. 3 speeders? No, just buy the print design. I have factory printers. He changed it on the list. Same here, and this and this. He changed 3 more items, then accessed his account and opened a company account. He put in 50,000 credits and handed it to Vorts. "You and Rox can get this. Once York has fixed Rock's ships, we will fill up the cargo hold and leave. I need to study the books he got me." He grabbed the plate and got up. "Good pancakes, by the way." "What are pancakes?" Chapter 4. Adam didn't leave his room before the evening. He only found Hera and the baby on the ship. The others were shopping and talking about getting satellites and probes. He checked his wrist and saw a few messages, mostly lists of things they needed. He had absent-mindedly accepted those throughout the day as he had been absorbing more about the different cultures. He had searched for a civilization in this galaxy sector that didn't have slavery and found none. The 4 Fushan and Haran wars had been epic. To him, it seemed more like cats and dogs fighting. The 2 cultures had several peaceful colonizers as well. They had the largest amount of cross-species marriages as well. What he was left with was to use common sense and remember that most people here don't understand humor or human culture. Hara looked up from a pad as he entered the main room. "Are you hungry, Mass? What should I call you, by the way? I mean, if you don't like Master," she asked, and he replied quickly. "Adam, I'm just Adam. If you want to be formal, it's Mr. Wrangler, but nobody outside a business meeting would call me that. He smiled to her as he went to make himself some food. When she moved to help, he had to stop her. I do know how to make food. I'm not a child. He tried to say it as friendly and non-treating as possible. She stepped back, a little confused. I read that Tufons feels comfortable serving others, and I know why you are here and not free to wander the galaxy, but you don't have to serve me dinner. I'm not a child. He explained as he continued making himself some food. He saw there were some blue pancakes left and grabbed one. She looked at him as she slowly sat down. She had been up the moment she had asked him, like an eager puppy. I never got to thank you properly, she said, looking at him, and he chuckled. There's no need to thank me. I'll be at the bridge. Where is York? He replied as he was getting ready to leave. He is installing the drone drive in my brother's ship. My brother said you wanted to do that. She replied, slightly confused, and wondered at him if he had missed something. Oh, thank you. Let me know when they are finished and send Vorts up to the bridge when he returns. He replied as he went up and sat down in the pilot chair. He turned on the screen while drinking a cup of what he hoped was coffee. He put the plate with blue pancakes and chicken legs on the small table next to the chair. Computer, run checkup on all systems and check all reports. No audio, screen only. He stretched slowly so as not to spill the cup as he had given the instructions. He suddenly had an urge for chocolate, but remembered eating the last stash weeks ago. Good. He needed to find a way to order some from Earth, or find out how to make some here. He drank the coffee while he went over the reports. He barely heard Vorts come into the bridge and stop next to him. You asked for me, sir? He said while putting his hand behind his back. Adam glanced at him and nodded. Yeah, I know you're not a terraformer, but you should know more about this than me. What do you think about the plan? He asked as he leaned on the arm of his chair. And please speak honestly. Honestly, are you sure? He replied, clearly uncomfortable. Yes, if you can see a flaw, then I would like to know before we try. I don't want to waste unnecessary credits here. I'm not made out of money. Adam smiled as he replied, trying to calm him down. To be honest, it won't work, sir. There is a reason why nobody cares about full terraforming. It's a waste of resources, and there are so many planets around where you only need to change the atmosphere by introducing some invasive oxygen algae and wait 100 years. You plan to make it into a breathable planet within 10 years. You are aware that the atmosphere is too thin, right? There is not enough nitrogen. Only traces of oxygen and argon exist. The carbon level is way too high. The pressure is too low, so your little atmosphere is slowly leaking out. The lack of a proper atmosphere destroys your other project of making organic waste into dirt. The current atmosphere can't hold the heat during the night, so it's like the days are summer and nights are winter. Hold the waste until the domes are built and dump it there. Then buy fertilizer and spread over them, and within a year you will have a field there. Vorts spoke carefully, but when he noticed Adam didn't get upset but merely listened, he seemed to be more relaxed. Okay, so we melt the poles. Water vapor should help release more gases. Adam replied, Look, I know this is unusual, but just because people don't do it doesn't mean it can't be done. You should record everything. Maybe get a research droid to keep a record. If it works, I'm sure many would be interested in how it was done. Vorts replied, and Adam nodded. And how much would that cost? Adam asked as he checked his spending that day. He had 71,000 credits. He needed to go over the receipts when they took off. Those are cheap, and 500 bits will get you top of the line with the above security. Most students buy used ones and tinker with them to adjust their research results. A new one will ensure you have not tinkered with it. Vorts replied that he had still not moved. Adam looked at him. Then get one, and make sure we have food for everybody. At least 6 months' food for everybody. Adam replied. Then looked back at the screen and back at Vorts. Oh, and thank you. Vorts was still standing there, and Adam tilted his head as he asked, Yes? Anything I can help you with? Vorts looked at him for a second, then shook his head as he replied, No. You meant I can go. Yes, I will see you later, Adam replied, and he watched as Vorts left. He was wondering if he insulted him in some way, and for a second he wondered where D01 was. Computer, locate D01. He didn't know why he had given the instruction, but D01 was just outside the bridge. He immediately stepped inside and, with a cold computer voice, reported in. It made Adam a little calmer, and he turned back to the screen. Computer, show the current budget and compare the cost of today's spending to the average costs. Show on my screen, he asked, and he leaned towards the screen to check. Most were the same price, but he saw that Vorts seemed to not care so much about the costs, shopping with other people's money. Rox seemed to be much more frugal. It was clear that Rox would be doing the shopping for now. 3 hours later, Rox and York returned, and they reviewed everything. Only 1 cubic meter cargo hold was left, and it was divided among both ships. Adam was eager to get on the way. He paid for the hangar, and then they took off. He loved this part. He flew the ship out, and Rox hauler followed perfectly. They quickly made it to the hyperplane and set the course and dropout point then. "Let's go," he said as he punched in the drive, and both ships vanished into the vastness of space. The autopilot immediately took off, and Adam checked the status of the ship's connection. Rox stood next to him and seemed impressed. "You know your way around the ship. That was some nice flying." "Well, I got a level 6 freight certificate. It took me a year and 600 hours of flying along with a 6-month course in everything they thought we could encounter out here," he replied as he got up and went to check on the navigation. "The ship is supposed to be flown by 3 with 2 engineers in cargo. The most effective crew is 10. That's why I'm so heavily reliant on the computer. Had it upgraded." "Your people don't sound like chaos, more like the Kunitos. Rules for everything," Roke replied, and Adam chuckled. "That's the insectoids, right? They sound like an autistic species for my kind. The certificate is just for my safety. Some never get them and stay off the radar while doing odd jobs. Anyway, everything looks secure and the alarm is set. It'll be a week before we get to my system, so I'm planning to study those books you got me," Adam replied. "I'll check up on the others," Rox replied as he headed out. Adam found out he enjoyed the company, mainly of Rox and York's. Hera was nice and grateful. Vorts was a little cold but never unfriendly. In fact, he was very professional. Hera had told him that Vorts just needed time. The little baby had become the focus of most of the small crew's attention, from his attempts to join his father in singing to crawling anywhere. In the end, Vorts placed a tracker on him just to be sure. Adam was ready when they dropped out of the hyperplane and set the course for the system. It would take 3 more days before they arrived. York's was mainly down in the workstation, programming some drones they had bought. They would be launched and study the system as the original scans had not been very thorough. When they entered the system on the 2nd day, York asked permission to launch the drones. Adam gave the clearance, and as they flew towards the planet, he launched them when they approached points of interest. The gas planets and their moons were all assigned a drone. Several drones were sent to scan the asteroid field, and the inner planet got 2. When they went into orbit over dirt, they launched the satellites. Adam checked up on the building's progress. The station was 30% finished, but with the droids and heavy machinery he had bought, they would cut down the factory times by at least 2, and it would have livable sections within a few days. He looked down on the planet and smiled. "Yes, this can work.